The UN has designated International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and a staggering new report suggests a gap in accessibility in our own communities. For one thing, people agree that accessibility is a basic human right, but we're nowhere near where we should be for those with disabilities. And my hero, Rick Hansen, is here to talk about it right now, Kevin. My friend. Nice to see you.
Great to see you too.
This report, I guess it goes in the right direction where it says that we agree that accessibility should be a basic human right, but then on the other side, people say, oh no, we have a long way to go.
Yeah, no question. And of course, those are really important things to remind ourselves, is that, finally after 30 years of bringing the issue forward to Canadians, they really are aligned and saying, yep, this is a human right. We should be accessible for everyone. That's part of our country's DNA and our charter. But then they're saying at the same time there's big gaps. Over 50% of Canadians, a big majority, say that like there's gaps between our expectations and our reality. So transportation, access to private business, these basic things that we expect to be there don't exist, and they need to pick up the pace and make sure that change happens faster.
On first look, some people might say, boy, we really are there with accessibility. The curbs are all level to the street. In a lot of cases, the new streetcars are accessible. You go to the grocery store, there's more accessible parking there. We still have so much more to do, not just with this, but with programs as well.
There's no question. And of course, when you look at one of the biggest challenges, this study here with Angus Reid says that Canadians actually, while they agree that it's a human right, they say, at least over 50% of people say, well, it's understandable that, that businesses would be cautious to hire people with disabilities.
To hire someone.
And that's a huge stigma. What it is it's a myth that people with disabilities are unemployable or not reliable employees or not capable. And of course, all the studies that have been done on that just blow that myth apart, but it still lingers in Canadian society, and unemployment is at 25% for people with disabilities. And people also underestimate the number and the prevalence of disability. It's actually one in 7 Canadians have a disability, and they think it's 1 in 25.
And we talk, you talked 25% unemployment. Yesterday there was a government body that sounded the alarm that if oil prices remain low, that we're going to see 25% unemployment in Canada in 5 years, and we can't have that, we can't have that. That's already here for people with disabilities.
And again, with the numbers that exist, and of course with aging boomers, by 2030, 1 in 5 Canadians will have a disability. And a lot of these people are existing employees, and employers have to wake up to accommodate and prepare to unleash their talent as they have disabling conditions throughout their life.
Doesn't that just sort of work against itself? If you're not going to employ someone who's disabled, well, they're going to rely more and more on government programs and privately funded programs, whereas they would be able to provide for themselves.
Exactly.
Had they been employed, it would actually help us in the long run.
Well, and of course in this stat, because people talk about some economic skepticism around going to the next level of accessibility, say, well, we can't afford the costs. That's another myth, because the direct cost is one thing, but then the return on investment, when you make accessibility, you actually have people have a chance to then move into full employment, and they're taxpayers, not on the welfare system. They're productive, they're engaged, they're fully contributing. And so disability isn't a cost, it's actually a net benefit to the country, and we need to hold our political leaders and our economic leaders accountable, because if we elect them and if we expect them to be smart and effective, they also have to be fiscally, effective.
So what can we do? What can people do today?
Well, the most important thing is that we also need to continue to embed human rights right across the country in the form of legislation. The federal government is committed to a National Disability Act. That's a safety net to make sure that that human rights are there and that people comply. But more importantly, we have to create toolkits for the rest of society to actually get involved. We have to say, here's how you rate accessibility in your communities. Let's put a visible rating system, a certification program that that shows the level of accessibility, so everyone knows where we're at. And what that'll do is that'll normalize it. And we need to keep this on the radar screen every year, keep measuring our progress so that we actually close the gap between our ideal and our reality. And then within the next 30 years, we're going to get there.
All right. I want to thank you so much for all the work you do.
Thanks, Kevin.
I think you're
Appreciate
incredible, and I think the government and all those that need to listen to you, you're the guy to listen to. You want more information, rickhansen.com, or give your ideas to Rick on Twitter. Maybe you're doing something. Maybe you have an idea. Rick Hansen FDN, at Rick Hansen FDN. Rick Hansen Foundation.
Build a movement, man. That's the way to do it. All together, stronger.
It doesn't have to be disabled people either building the movement.
It affects all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Rick, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, man.